Welcome to class 8 of business environment. So far we were dealing with critical elements of economic environment. Economic environment elements consist of three: economic system, conditions and policies. And we have already studied economic system, which consists of capitalism, consumerism, communism and mixed economy. So we are going to continue with the second element today, so that is economic conditions. So it says that business growth and success depends upon prevailing and supportive economic conditions. So which mean economic conditions should be helpful for the growth of business. And there are some conditions. So I have given the points here. So following are the conditions. The first is your agriculture. So how agriculture will be supportive to the business? So we say growth of nation depends upon in agriculture. So why we consider agriculture as a basic industry? So what it does? So the foundation and the growth of business depends upon the strong support of agriculture, we say. So how it supports? So we also say it gives or it feeds the people and also the industry. So it feeds the people by giving the food, right? Agriculture is a basic industry which gives food to the people. And also it helps the industries by giving or supplying the raw materials. So we get raw materials, we get food from the agriculture. So we say agriculture is a basic industry which is going to provide or which is going to feed the people and also provide some raw material to the industry. And the great support of agriculture is a basis for the growth of your business. The next is infrastructure. So what is infrastructure? Infrastructure is nothing but the convenient facilities to run out your activity. We call it as infrastructure. So if you are going to start a business, you need some facilities. So what are those facilities? So if you want to grow in business, you should have a good road facility, which means the transportation system should be good. Then the communication facility should be there, power should be there. So all these facilities, so these we call it as infrastructure. So essential for the growth of business. So these all are essential for the growth of business. So growth of business in India is not taking place to the desired extent due to the poor infrastructure growth, which means it is not as expected, right? So infrastructure facility is not as expected in India. So the business is also not to that mark, or we can say growth of business in India is not taking place as we have expected. So for what? Because of this poor infrastructure. Then the next is your income level. So what is this income? So income here means the people what they are going to earn after spending something what they have. So we call it as income. So based on the income level, so we can decide whether the business is growing or not. Okay. So people are going to earn. So those people who are going to earn will have the income. And the people will become the customer only when they have the purchasing power and willingness to pay. So willingness to pay should be there. So what we do, sometimes we are going to earn money and we are going to spend something, and next what we have, the savings we have. Suppose we are not going to use it, or we are not going to use it appropriately, or sometimes we make a stingy things, right? So in such case you are not going to become the customer. So you should be willing to pay. You will be having desire. Human beings will normally have desires, and when the human being is ready to become the customer, which means they are ready to pay. So only when you have a adequate income, or only when the people have adequate income, they become customer. So if the income level is low, what happens? The people are not ready to become the customer, the people are not going to buy anything from the business. So what happens? The growth of business remain in a decreasing, or we can say it is declining. So majority, or we can say more people in India are poor, right? So here, due to this poverty, business in India has not grown to the expected mark or at the desired level due to the poverty. The next is population. So how population will influence on business? So population and its composition, so that is going to support the business. So how it is going to support the business? When we have a growing population, which means when we have more and more young people and educated people, so it will provide the large customer base to the business, right? Normally compared to the old one and young one, who will having a desire to purchase much thing, the young people, right? So when the population have much and much young and educated people, so they are ready to buy something. So when they are going to buy, the business will also improve. So what happens here? We may say India and China, so it has attracted, or we can say these two countries have more population, and MNCs are attracted, international business are attracted towards these countries due to its large size and population. So the better income will be there, education level will be there, young peoples are there. So MNCs are entering these market with products and services that are attractive to its growing population. The next is saving and investment. Saving and investment. So it has difference, right? So only when you save, so thus that savings will become your investment. So business requires money, or we can say finance or capital. So from where you are going to raise it? So you may say, I am going to get it from the bank. So there are some banks and financial institutions which are going to provide you the capital, or directly you can get it from the investors by issuing the equities and debentures, right? So people, for that what you should have? You should have the habit of saving. People must have the habit of saving. So how can you attract the people to save? So you may say, if you are going to save, we are going to give you some interest. So some with the attractive rate of interest, attractive rate of dividend rate, so increase in market price, etc. So likewise you can attract the people to save their money, and whatever you are going to save, so that will be converted into investment. So savings will be converted into investment, so by giving your better interest rate, dividend rate, market price, etc. Okay, so growth of business depends upon how much capital you are going to get. So based upon how much savings and investments you are going to collect it from the people, so based on that you are going to judge whether the business is going to grow or not. The next is distribution of income. So distribution of income means here you are going to distribute the income equally. So it should not be like only the small portion of the population will be rich and the majority, the large portion of the people will be poor. So what happens? So in this case, only the small portion who are rich, they are going to buy the things, right? So they are going to afford, or they afford to buy, and the next they will be not able to buy. So what happens here? There is imbalance. So when the distribution of income is equal, so when the distribution of income is equal, so like large number of middle class population with a medium income level will help for the growth of business. The next is economic reforms. So development of business requires helpful business environment. So economic reforms measures like your LPG. So LPG means liberalization, privatization and globalization. So that will increase the competition in the business. So that will increase the competition in the business. So for that reason it will be helpful for the competitive growth of business. So liberalization, what does it do? When there are many restrictions, you will be not able to grow, right? So what happens? Liberalization reduces the restriction. Privatization, what is this privatization? So privatization means it will give some scope or incentives to the business in the private sectors, and the globalization will help you to compete with the foreign firms, which means you can deal in the foreign firms with your domestic products. So these economic reforms measures allow the competition, and it will encourage the business to grow through the various facilities and the schemes. The next is standard of living. Standard of living is nothing but the way you are going to live, right? So what is your standard? So consumption of comforts, luxuries and quality of life. So by these terms we can measure standard of living. So to live in this way, what you should have? You should have income. So people must have income to buy the goods and services. Living, living standards of people can increase by consuming more comforts and luxuries. So what happens? The consumption habit of people encourage the business activities as more goods are to be produced to meet the demands. People will have the demand, and to fulfill that demand, the company or the business is going to undertake the production activity. So people have income, so they are ready to buy. So what happens? Consumption habit of people will encourage the business activity. Then the next is financial system. So growth of business depends on availability of finance at the favorable terms and conditions. Well developed financial systems, so like banks and financial institutions, so they help the business to grow. So how they are going to help the business to grow? So simply by providing with money and credit. So business is going to depend on various financial services like payment check, clearance, discounting letter of credit, etc. So what happens? So that will be provided by these institutions. So it is a support to the business. So next is level of economic development. Development or developed economics provide better opportunities of business growth by well developed market. So there will be easily availability of finance, better infrastructure will be there, people are ready to spend on the goods and services. So what happens? The economic development, the level of economic development, so how your economy is in the country, so that will decide whether your business is going to grow or be in the same level. So thank you.